specific pattern. Someone who chooses a certain type of victim, collects trophies, or leaves a signature at every crime scene. But Israel Keys was different. He studied those very stereotypes and deliberately avoided them. He wanted to stay off the radar, so he had no preferred victim, no obvious trophy collection, and no single geographic hunting ground. His story challenges what we think we know about serial killers, and that's exactly why the FBI considered him one of the most cunning and elusive offenders ever encountered.
That's why nobody's saying anything. Hey guys, can you hear me and see me? How's it going? Yeah, that I don't know if you guys heard me talking, but for the last couple of minutes, I was explaining that the intro video was a video, just an intro. Hey, Wheels of Life, how's it going? Yeah, so today we're planning. The plan is to kind of watch some of the Israel Keys interrogation stuff, and there we go. Give you guys something to look at besides just me and my refrigerator. You know, I did see a video on a vidIQ video. I don't know if you guys have ever tried getting your YouTube channel to grow and stuff, but you end up watching all these how-to videos. Hey, Olga. And the other day, one of them said, to make sure you're recording next to a refrigerator. And I think it's because of me. Somebody saw that and they're like, yeah. But yeah, I just got a small apartment here. But so yeah, I had everything set up and ready to go. But then the one thing I hate about StreamYard is that you can't save anything. So if you got everything open, everything's ready to go, you've found all the files you need, and then for whatever reason that browser closes, everything's gone. And so now I have to find them all over again. But at least today I did put them all in a single folder so I can find them. So what I want to do first is I want to play the first video. I'm not going to play it all the way through, but I just want to kind of show you what he's like whenever they first catch him, and how he acts. And then I'm going to play some of the second video. But I think the real interesting stuff happens in the June interrogation. So that one I'm planning to play the entire in its entirety, or at least as close to it as I can. I might skip over some of the naps that this guy takes. Like, can you imagine being in jail and you're being questioned for murder and you're just like hanging out in the interrogation room, lounging and taking a nap? Maribel, the Israel Keys. Wait a second here. Israel Keys, he was from Alaska. He was a like a contractor. So he was, he was always working on people's houses and things. But he would like fly to somewhere like Chicago, and then he would rent a car and he would drive somewhere where he already had buried his murder kit. The FBI called them kill kits. They were buckets, and they would have guns, ropes, stuff to dissolve bodies, all kinds of stuff. And he would put them in this cache and bury them and think to himself, well, the next time I'm out here, I can, go grab this stuff and, go kill somebody. And that way I'm not raising any suspicion when I go to a pawn shop and buy a gun. This guy is the scariest serial killer that I've ever encountered. And I think he's, if you look at my little background here, I honestly think this is a new type of serial killer. And it's actually got me wondering if the old serial killers from back in the 70s, who all wanted fame and they all had trophies, they all had all of these things, did they all start doing that because that's what a serial killer was labeled as, and that's what a serial killer was supposed to do? So is that why they did it? They wanted to fit the label. I don't know that anybody's ever really thought about it that way, but if you've ever read anything about labeling theory, when you call somebody something, they kind of conform to that label. And that's why labeling is kind of a bad thing. If you get labeled the bad kid in school, you're going to grow up being the bad kid in, who knows what. Versus if you're, labeled, the smart kid, the kid with the drive, the one that's going to go somewhere. Those are the things that you're going to label yourself as internally because you've heard it from other people. And then you're going to go off and do things, better things, hopefully. But I don't know. I bring this up because it's an interesting thought. Are serial killers like collecting trophies, picking the same victims, leaving signatures behind because they were told that was what serial killers do? It's an interesting thought. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just get this started. I'm going to play a few minutes of this, and then I'm going to kind of skim through it because he sleeps for 15 minutes. It's really interesting.
No, I'm good, thanks.
So he was just picked up, and they brought him in there. They just asked him, "Hey, do you need some water or something?" But what they don't tell him is he's going to be waiting there for a while. You know, Wheels of Life, he could have been some kind of contract killer, but then if he was murdering like just regular people. And you can see him jump through the coffee shop window and pull a gun on a girl and then walk her out of that place before he goes to kill her. And why would anybody have a contract to kill an 18-year-old coffee attendant? JS. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. But let's see. You know, this doesn't really give me timestamps, but oh, there we go. So this is like 2-3 minutes into it, and let me see. He's starting to nod off, getting bored. I can't speed this up because it would be better if I could do that. But he eventually, there was a big yawn. He's about to start leaning back. And see, I thought he was going to put his feet up, but he doesn't. Contract killer, contractor. That's a good one, actually. I think they picked him up in Texas, Cuffy. There's actually footage of him getting pulled over in the girl's car that he stole. He killed the girl in Alaska. He made her give him her ATM card, which she left in her boyfriend's truck. So they had to go to her house, basically, go into her boyfriend's truck, get the ATM card. She gave him the PIN number, and he said, you know, this was all for ransom, so she wasn't worried about getting killed. But she kills him. I mean, he kills her. Yeah. Yeah, he you know, it's funny because here in a couple minutes, this is 7 minutes into the when it's recording. I think it's about 10 minutes in when the people start showing up, and they just stand there and watch him. Oh, went a little too far. So I think they've came in already. Yep. See, but then they're kind of quiet. Just 1 second, guys. I'll be right
Didn't
back.
sleep much last night.
No, not that. These are good workout apparently. I had muscles sore this morning I didn't even know I had.
Really?
Which muscles?
Geez, that's a good thing you didn't get a full on.
This reminds me of like those late night infomercials where you used to sell those machines that shock your abs and stuff.
Oh.
It's like that one.
You had one? You bought one of them?
No, Kimberly did.
Oh, okay.
But I tried it once just for the hell of it.
You get ripped from it?
No.
No, Rick, so you weren't too taken with the machine then, basically?
Not all the ab
Yeah.
shocker things? Yeah, no, those things are like freaking fingernails on a chalkboard. I'd be so excited.
I think he sleeps like a baby.
Okay, well, Israel, we're going to run through this same stuff that we do every time. You know, we're running tape here just so we make sure we get all the facts straight. So.
All right.
And I just want to confirm we didn't interrupt the meeting with your attorney when we reached out here in
No.
court today, right? Or at the jail today, I'm sorry. Right?
No.
Okay. And you're here voluntarily, right?
Yes.
Okay. You understand that we can't talk about anything to do with the case involving Samantha Koenig. If you do start talking about that stuff, then we'll have to stop the interview and we'll have to take you to jail. You understand that? Yes. Okay. Going to run through your Miranda Rights here. I know we've been through them before, but we're going to run through it one more time. Before we ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering at any time. Do you understand these rights as I've explained to you?
Yes.
And with that explanation in mind, are you willing to waive your rights and speak with us today?
Yes.
One other thing, you've got standby counsel appointed in
That's a good question. He admitted to killing Samantha Koenig. That's the girl from Alaska. He also admitted to killing a couple from Vermont, but he kind of hinted at all these other murders, but he committed suicide before he could actually give up all the names. And underneath his bed, when they found him, they found this like poster thing that had 11 skulls on it. So they think that that was his way of saying that there are 11 victims out there. I think it's a way that this man controls the narrative again, because if you study what he did and how he like planned these things, he would literally like years in advance bury these kill kits, and then he would fly somewhere and then drive 500 miles to that location where he has a kill kit, and then he would just drive around in a rental car until he finds the house that he likes, one with a detached garage or attached garage or something, and then it gives him easier access into the house. And he would just, that was his thing. He would pick the right house. He would go in, he would drag the people, take them in their car wherever he's going to go kill them at, kill them however he does it, because he doesn't do it the same way every single time. But afterwards, he would take the car and drive it for 60 or 70 miles, park it somewhere to throw off the police. So this isn't your typical scenario here where there's like, how many did this guy kill? Because he might have said 11, but there could have been a lot more. There could have only been 3. He liked to change the narrative. He wanted to be in control of everything. He even like requests the death penalty because he doesn't want to stay in jail, his whole life. He wanted the death penalty first before he gave up everything. Hey, Lauren, how's it going? Glad you could make it. Yeah, he does actually brag. He actually makes jokes about how long it takes to strangle people. It's just insane. There's a lot of things that he just isn't a typical person.
This particular matter, I believe it's Rich Kurtner, and it may also be Jacqueline Walsh. I'm not 100% sure of that, but be that as it may, do you want either of those attorneys present today?
No.
Are you on any medications or any other substances that we should know about?
No.
And are you having any difficulty understanding where you're at or what's going on?
No.
I didn't think so. All right, now we're done with that. I apologize.
He's kind of smirking right now.
Here, and the first thing I got to tell you, Israel, we talked about a little bit earlier, that stunt yesterday in the courtroom did not go over well. Well, with a lot of folks, not the least of which were the prosecutors. And that was the delay, actually, getting in here is we knew you had some legal questions, and so we reached out for him to say, hey, Israel says he's got some questions. Are you guys available to speak to him? And I couldn't even get one. One of them was in court, and the other one said, basically, what the fuck, after yesterday. So they didn't think that was too funny.
Why are they afraid I'd actually get away? Well, that would be embarrassing for them, I guess.
No, it's, I don't think that they were looking.
You see, I don't know exactly what happened in court the day before, but he's joking about it. Whatever he did, nobody liked it, and he thinks it's funny. Yeah, he just jokes about this stuff like it means nothing, because honestly, it means nothing to him.
From that perspective, you know,
Lawyers just don't like excitement. That's all it is.
Well, it's more of a understanding that they thought we were kind of working towards a goal, and they're working on trying to keeping Vermont on board and doing everything.
I would have sent them an anonymous letter.
Yeah. And so they're kind of wondering where we're at with that. Where are we at with what's changed since yesterday?
More. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
and what's changed for you then?
Nothing. Possibly additional charges.
Also, don't think that's funny.
Well, I don't understand why it surprises me that they would take that personally at all. It really doesn't have anything to do with them.
Well, I didn't interpret it as though they took it personally. They're very concerned and very frustrated because I think in their mind, we had a business relationship set up here, and they worked very hard to kind of lay out their position and the things that they thought that they could potentially do that would be in your interest based on the information you've provided. And, so they felt like we had a business relationship, and they felt like the actions that you took yesterday really kind of threw that out the window. And I gotta be honest, it kind of looked that way from our perspective too.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, honestly, and I know we can't go too far back into some of the original interviews that I had with them, but by their own words yesterday in their opening statement to the judge in court, I feel like they have not been honest with me about what my bottom line has been throughout all this, and that's what I wanted to talk to them about. So I'm not going to take it out on you guys, but I do have some serious issues right now. There's some sort of obvious communication breakdown over the entirety of this whole situation, and it's easy to sit there and say on the recording, we're not here to talk about the Koenig case, but the fact of the matter is that they're the same people that I talked to about that originally. So you understand my position on that. So I understand I'm not allowed to talk to that, and I respected their wishes about not talking to them about that either without my attorney present, but I have some serious frustrations right now regarding matters related to that. So that's as far as that's concerned, and I don't think it's something that can't be worked out. I've been trying to work it out from my end, but apparently there's only so much I can do. So that's what I wanted to speak to them about, and not in a matter of any specifics regarding any other case, just like general topics. Like I say, it's the topics that were discussed in open court yesterday. So it's that's a frustration to me right now that they won't talk to me about those topics, but it's okay to talk about it in open court. That's I'm not buying that, so that's okay.
Well, there are different rules for what can be done in open court because your attorneys are present, the judge is present, and when we're having discussions over here, we've got to adhere to a different set of rules.
Right, because you have me sequestered away from. Right, I understand that, and I've been working on that as much as I can.
Maribel, the funny thing about this guy is he absolutely does not want any fame at all. He's got a daughter. He doesn't want her to know that he's a killer. He's got, all the stuff that he does protects him in a way so he doesn't end up being on the news. He doesn't want the publicity. He doesn't want the infamy. He doesn't like, all the things that, Ted Bundy liked. He wanted, to do this for himself and only for himself, not to be, another serial killer that people can write books about. Unfortunately, he got caught. If he hadn't got caught, and apparently some of the he talks about them, and nobody could really nobody could say for sure that any of those things that he says is true, but he says that there was like a murder in Texas that was listed as an accident, that he murdered somebody and they thought it was an accident. So he was doing this for a long time and he had no intentions of stopping. He only wanted to keep doing it rather than get caught and get, famous, like Bundy. Bundy loved it when people found out about it. I can't explain why, but he does. But I'm going to play this one a little bit longer and then we'll switch to the other interview that has a little bit more interesting information in it. But this is just to kind of show you his personality. He is not afraid. He doesn't care. And he's making jokes. He's totally calm and relaxed. It's just insane that more people haven't talked about this guy.
From my end, but there really is just like a couple very simple questions I have to ask them, and I need to get a straight answer from somebody before I can move forward on it, because I'm not getting a straight answer on my end.
So you think they might be able to provide you with some?
Yes, I
general questions about
not even questions related to the case, just
And are you talking about the hearing yesterday afternoon or the hearing yesterday morning?
Yes. Well, let's see.
You had two.
Yeah, it didn't. Let's see. First hearing. No, it was pretty much strictly related to the afternoon hearing.
How about if you can give me the general question, we might be able to make a phone call and see if they can.
Well, okay.
Generally.
My position has been, and I made no secret about this. My position has been that I want to talk to them about the Cohen case and find out, where we stand with that.
But you know we can't do that, and they can't do that right now without.
Right. No, I understand that. But
So we don't want to talk about the Cohen
the
case.
impression that I spoke to him before, and he gave me the impression that he was open to that, but only if my attorneys were present. And I said, okay, fine. I'll talk to him. We'll set it up. That was a month ago. So there's communication.
Oh, I see.
That's all I can say about it, because they're not here, to state their case, their side of the story. But I do know what they've been telling me, and so he made it clear that, at least at that time, that he was open to that suggestion that I had, and I'm assured that. I guess it just comes down to I don't know who to believe right now, because there's there's a hitch in the communication somewhere.
No, that's fair.
And honestly, I wasn't that concerned about it until yesterday, and I heard some of the things that were said in court, and
Some of the things that were said by the
prosecution.
By the prosecution.
I think it was Russo. But he was, from what he said, I was not at all happy with the. And actually, I had heard a day or two before that hearing that was what was going on, and I had no idea. And then to hear it confirmed in court like that was kind of just, was frustrating to me. So, and honestly, I'm not gonna get all in a tizzy about it until we can at least talk about it and find out what is going on. It's not that I'm not willing to accept people's explanations for what's going on. It's just that no one's giving me an explanation.
I guess my thought on that is we've tried to do that, and we'll continue to try to do that. But just keep in mind that all of us are, we're bound by the rules that are set down for us.
Yes.
And in some cases, the rules will be more restrictive than usual. And that's kind of what's going on here, to be perfectly honest. You know,
Because of its high profile.
well, yeah, there's that, and then, you know, sometimes there's just additional rules that we have to live by, and like the standby counsel thing, frankly, is
Did you see how he kind of got like irritated when he said high profile? You know,
kind of unusual. We don't run into that very often.
Right.
And there are some other things, and I'm not going to get into it because it's kind of legal stuff, and it's not really my strong suit, but just keep in mind that the attorneys are juggling more things than they normally would.
Right.
And there are things I think that we would all like to be able to talk with you about, but we just haven't had that opportunity yet.
Right, and that's my concern.
Are these questions that you have for the attorneys, questions under the conditions that you know we have to speak about? Are these questions that they're going to be able to answer, or are they just going to tell you, we can't talk to you about that because it's not related?
There are questions they're probably not going to want to answer unless I have
Okay. So it's not something that they can even answer in this environment right now?
not right here right now. But I would like reconfirmation on the previous statement that Feldes had told me. I mean, he gave me that statement in an interview that was, you know, with just me, and I don't know if he was saying it as an official response or if he was just saying it to placate me, but he did say he was willing to do that, to have a meeting with me and whoever, you know, whatever counsel was required so that we could discuss things openly, and it hasn't happened.
Well, and
And you think that?
And I'm not-
And you think we're on this side stalling that?
I don't know who's stalling. Somebody's stalling it. That's all I can say for sure. And it's not me.
one thing we can tell you is neither Kevin nor Frank are the kind of guys that are going to tell you something just to shine you on. So if
I haven't got that impression. No.
They're not. And so if they've told you something, it is something that they believe can be done. And I don't always understand all the reasons why things work exactly the way they do in the legal
Right.
system, but they're not going to.
I'm getting ready to switch to the
This is not-
June
Well,
interview.
Right. I mean, I agree with you, and I believe you up to a point. I mean, I'm not. It's not like I'm here expecting.
There's
special-
5
I
interviews
don't know.
that you can watch. Some of them have large chunks of time that go through them that it's hard to, it's hard to find like the good parts. There's a lot of like tedious stuff that doesn't make isn't really interesting. But I think in the June video, the interrogation, he actually starts talking about some of the crime. So that's the video that I want to play basically in its entirety if I can. There is some good little bits in this video, and there's another one that happens on May 29th as well. It also has some good stuff in it. And here's the June video. So I'll skip through the parts where they're slow. Like he'll be sitting there a couple times.
All right.
You use the head or anything like that before we start?
No, I'm good.
All right, we'll run through the same stuff that we do, I think, pretty much every time. On this, I know we covered some of this stuff in the jail, but we'll just run through it again. When we arrived this morning, did we interrupt a meeting with your attorney?
No.
And you're here voluntarily, is that correct?
Yes.
You understand we can't talk about anything to do with the Samantha Koenig investigation. If you do start down that path, we'll have to stop the interview and we'll take you back to jail.
Yes.
Run through your Miranda Rights here. Before we ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to contact a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering at any time. Do you understand these rights as I've explained them to you?
Yes.
And with those rights in mind, are you willing to waive them and speak with us here today?
Yes.
As you know, you've got at least one standby attorney appointed in the discussion of other crimes, that type of thing. I believe it's Rich Herder. It may also include Jacqueline Walsh. Do you have any desire to have either of those attorneys or any other attorney present today?
No.
Are you on any medications or any other substances?
No.
And are you having any difficulty understanding where you're at or what's going on?
No.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Any questions before we get started?
Nope.
Okay. We wanted to bring you over here today to do a little bit of information about some things that are going on, but also to ask you kind of where you're at with things. It sounded like you're kind of frustrated with things. I don't know if that's something you want to expand on at all.
Just things haven't been happening for the last week. There were some things that I asked for information on, as well as, well, basically that was the gist of it. And haven't heard anything back, so we'll see. I don't know. Supposedly within the next day or two, I'm supposed to get a more comprehensive visit or information or something, but so far it hasn't happened.
Well, we're not talking anything about Samantha Koenig, and I've been back east last week. And they gave me a little bit of an update from Israel, but since I've been out of the loop, I wanted to come and see you and let them know maybe the conversations I've been having with other U.S. attorneys' offices. But before I do that, I just thought the same kind of question in relation to moving things forward. You know, where are you at kind of about all this? What's your take on this? And not talking about what you're doing with other stuff, but where are you in regards to the discussions we've been having?
Well, I'm same place I've always been. I am obviously a little concerned about giving out a lot more information, especially over too short a period of time until I find out where I stand on some other issues. So, it'd be nice if all these other issues would just work themselves out and resolve themselves the way I want them to without my coercion, but that's not going to happen, so I got to do what I got to do. It'd be a lot simpler if I, would just take certain steps so that I could expound upon that a little bit more, but I'm not ready to do that yet, so if I have to, I will, but I think so. But yeah, as far as discussing things about whether it's the Vermont case or things that happened prior to that.
See, he killed 2 people in Vermont. They were a married couple. He snuck into their garage. He cut their phone line and, the main landline. This was back in, well, he was caught in 2012, but this was a couple years before that. So people actually still had landline phones. He cut their phone line and then he abducted them in their own car. He took them somewhere and just brutally murdered them. But I did find the video of him abducting Samantha Koenig, and I think I'm going to go ahead and play that. It's a few minutes long, but it's kind of scary. So just you can't see it in too much detail. It is a CCTV footage from a small little coffee shop, Kiosk they call it. So this is Samantha Koenig. She's working. Here in a minute, you're going to see somebody walk up to. She's about to close for the night, by the way. This is in Anchorage, Alaska, and it's just one of those tiny coffee huts, like coffee. I don't know why they call them coffee kiosk. I never heard that term until I heard him say that in this case, but yeah. And I might have gotten the long video that maybe that wasn't him yet. Coffee coaches. Yeah, that's a good name too. I don't know why kiosk is even a name. It doesn't sound good. But I wish I could play this a little faster so that we can get to the. Here we go. See, the first thing that happens, he's got a gun on her now, and he tells her to turn off the lights. She does. And he's about to jump through the window. He's going to tell her that he's not going to hurt her, that this is just for ransom. Yeah, it's really hard to watch, even when you can't see it. Like I can imagine her fear. She's trying to, you know, how do you know what to do? Like, I mean, obviously now we know that he was lying and he was planning to kill her the entire time. But should she have attacked and then possibly gotten killed by mistake, I think the odds are not in your favor either way. But I think if this happens to you, you should attack and at least fight for your life. Because I think at this point she thinks she's getting robbed. And if she's compliant, he'll go away. See, she looks like she's handing over all the money. Well, see, the thing, Lauren, is, sometimes a robbery is just a robbery and they don't intend to kill you. I think if you work in a place where you could potentially get robbed for the money in the cash register, they tell you just to give them the money and then let them go away, because that's typically what happens. Um, but right now, he just told her to get on the floor. And so she did. He comes in the window right now. He's about to come in and he's going to drag her out and take her with him. And at that point, I think that is the point where she should have done something. I believe she tries to run away, but she could have grabbed something, anything in your hand is better than hitting somebody with nothing in your hand at all. So, um, well, I wouldn't give anybody any money if they didn't have anything to threaten me with, like a gun. Um, I would just call 911. And I think with Siri and Alexa now, I think you can tell them to call 911 for you. But she could have grabbed anything in that place that was heavy and hard. And I don't know why my camera keeps shutting off, but I'm not doing it. But she could have grabbed anything, even if it wasn't like a hard object. She could have hit him with anything in there, and it would hurt a lot more than just her bare hands. And if she stuns him, she has more opportunity to actually get away or to scream and be heard. It's terrifying. I mean, I don't know what I would do either. When you're scared, the fight or flight kicks in, and most people would rather run away, um, and everyone else doesn't want to fight. So I don't know how you. I don't know if you'll ever be fully prepared if something like this happened to you. But I can tell you, if they're taking you somewhere, you've got to get away. And if you get away and he attacks you and hurts you, you got to keep trying to get away, even though it hurts. The longer it takes him to get you, the more opportunity there is for somebody to see and try to help you. See, there's a person in a car. And she's not screaming. Oh, he finally comes in. That car leaves. When you're scared, your emotions control you one way or another. And they say, fight or flight, that's a common kind of thing to expect. But, sometimes that deer in the headlights looks, that freezing is also, it's not always fight or flight. It's fight or flight or freeze. And, most people freeze, I think. It almost makes me want to figure out a way to put electric tasers on people's hands so that if something like this happens, you can just be like, no, put your hands up, and it just automatically shoots out a taser. They would never expect that. You just have to wear it all the time. And if you're watching this, you can see he's taking his time. He is not afraid of anything. This man is probably thinking how easy that was. And I think she's tied up, and she forgets her cell phone inside the coffee kiosk, and they have to come back. And he does that in the same slow, casual way. But when she was walking with him to the car, she should have grabbed something somehow, ran, screamed, do whatever you can. Yeah, it's funny. The hand tasers sounds hilarious, but if you're gonna get robbed, I mean, if you can get a taser to built in, like that shoots 15 feet out of your hands, and if you have to put both hands up to trigger it, I don't think that's such a bad idea. I know there's probably a lot of convenience store people who would love to have something like that. I know that sometimes places get robbed more than once. Exactly. Spider-Man tasers, webs. Yeah. But that's the end of that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the interviews.
I think that, it's probably still going to happen. I guess the reality sets in for me as to how much more time there is to pass before I may find out things I need to find out.
And your feeling is if you give us additional information, it's going to affect other things or not affect other things, or you're
Well,
going to control over it?
Yeah, it's once I give out the information, then it's gone.
Well, let me just jump in on that, because this is getting, I should say frustrating, but I could almost say it's getting depressing, right? That and maybe you feel the same way, that you have been meeting with us now about other crimes for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think it's getting kind of just downright depressing that we are not moving forward. And I don't think it's because, I'm not sure why it is. I mean, we came in here a month ago and laid out that plan that Frank Russo laid out, and because we've been kind of bending over backwards from the U.S. Attorney's Office perspective of saying, look, we're going to work with you, and we're going to move the other things forward that are going to need to be moved forward with all the other crimes.
Right.
And we all kind of understand that we're going to need to move forward. And so we thought you were on the schedule of wanting to move other crimes investigations forward. We know you want to keep the media down. You don't want to be charged on the jurisdictions. We know those things. We took them into account, and we came up with this strategy to say, well, let's move them forward. And we really kind of busted ourselves to do that. So we're getting kind of just, like I said, I should be saying frustrated, but I'll start with just kind of depressed about that we're not moving those things forward. And so, what's your view on that?
And the same with law enforcement. This isn't a typical way to move forward with this type of investigation. And for us, it's frustrating, and we're doing it this way because this is the way that Israel wanted to do it. And
what's your take on our?
This isn't the way I wanted to do it.
Well, just tell us what your take is on that.
Well, my take is.
Did you guys see the look on his face while he's listening to these people? Like, he actually looks like he's getting angry, and then he laughs and kind of relaxes.
I've said this before, even though we may at this point all want the same end result, it doesn't mean we're on the same team by any means.
We've always known that. We're not pretending.
So I'm not. I understand that you've got your schedule, you've got your deadlines, you've got things you've got to get done. But honestly, that's of no concern to me. If we can continue to work together and make stuff happen, great. If not, if it's not going the way you want it to, or you're not getting your information fast enough, then do what you got to do. But I already know.
Do what you got to do. I see him, presenting himself as calm, but I think internally there's like a rage that he's having a hard time keeping in. And I think a few moments ago when he's sitting there listening, his chin kind of tucks down a little bit, like I don't know, he just looks like wants to spring into action. And I don't know why I think that, but I think that's how, he looks like he's small, but he's also his muscle tone is there. So he probably, is like a snake, just like he could spring into killer mode at any second. And when he was kind of leaning down as he was listening, looking with his eyes up like this, like he's getting angry, like if he could have, he would have attacked. If he wasn't handcuffed, I bet you he wouldn't allow them to let him live. He would have died already because he would have fought them to the death.
You'll be back. So.
Well, and maybe we've been too honest with you guys, I guess. I mean, we know we know that we're not on the same team. Well, yeah, because if you're saying, I think what you're saying is you're kind of challenging us, and I didn't think that's where we were in our discussion.
No, I'm not challenging you. I'm just saying I know you've got your agenda, what you need to get done, and what you need to. You have to have something to show for it, for your work on this.
Well, but it's sort of funny because we thought it was your agenda that was kind of driving this and wanting to move things quickly and wanting to keep the media on, and that's why we've been working on kind of your agenda. That's why I'm like, wait a second, this is what Israel wanted.
No, you're right. I mean, it's so far it has gone according to my agenda as much as it can. The issue is there's still a lot of time that's going to pass before I get the things I want. And if I give up all my cards right away, and then that's it. I have no control over what happens a month from now or 6 months from now.
I guess I would respectfully disagree with that, because to the extent that we demonstrate that the plan that we came up with collectively a month ago is working, then that is going to help you get the things that you want. And at this point, we've only really been able to demonstrate that half of the plan is working. And frankly, that's our half. We did everything that we agreed to do. And you haven't done what you agreed to do.
First of all, I didn't agree to do anything today. I already told you that. So, I told you I've got different agenda now than when we came up with that plan because of things that happened between then and now. So, fine, I changed the rules, shame on me, but that doesn't really change the bottom line. I'm going to at least find out what my options are. And that hasn't happened yet. So, I understand it put a hitch in the schedule, but, and that's not the only issue right now. There are some other things that we can't talk about, and that's an issue with me too. And I know that, there's a lot of debate that these things aren't connected, but to a certain extent, for me and what happens to me in the end, they are pretty closely connected. So.
Well, as we've said before, we won't talk to you about any of your interests in Bitcoin now, but if you want to request a meeting,
right.
And if that's what you guys decide, that's totally up to you and your counsel.
Right.
And we'll make ourselves available, but we won't discuss them now.
No, I understand that. And,
yeah, you could see his arms tense up every once in a while. And I don't know if he's like pulling at his handcuffs or what, but you can tell when he's getting tense. Oh, no. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I hit the wrong button. I don't know where we were. Sorry.
You told us.
Yeah, if you're talking about my ultimate schedule, yeah, but that's...
I might have skipped ahead. Sorry, guys.
I'm saying like week to week, month to month. I don't have a schedule right now. I don't have anything to gain from it.
I thought you did have a schedule. When you say a ways off, Now I don't know what you're talking about, because month to month is what's happening now, basically. We're moving at, we've gone from moving at a fairly reasonable pace to being month to month, and 6 months is going to pass, and then a year is going to pass, and then a year and a half, and 2 years. And I'm offering you an opportunity now to move that more quickly, and I'd like to start with, not even start, I'd just like to move forward on your, because it's going to move everything, the pace of everything more quickly, which is what I thought you wanted. You tell me differently, you say, I don't care how long it takes anymore. Then I understand that's different.
No, I do care about how long things take. I just, first of all, I don't know what time has to do with any of the crimes, any information that I give you, because if you think I want to be indicted or charged with any of the crimes, then you're wrong. I mean,
You told us that. We're trying to avoid that, right?
Right.
So avoid that by controlling it.
So I don't understand how giving information is going to...
Well, let's just say, what happens if Vermont says, you know, we thought this guy was cooperating. What if they were to say, we're going to charge him? So can you get charged in Vermont?
Well, they're going to have to wait their turn, aren't they?
Well, what happens? But how long is that going to take, right? That's what I'm trying to say.
That's what my concern is.
Yeah. So right now, they're not charging, but what do you think? Explain to me, what do you think would happen if they do charge? If you know, we say Israel just says, you guys do whatever you got to do, and then they were to go forward and they lose control, what do you think would happen with that?
Well, I assume, I don't know for sure. I assume there's a few different things that could happen, none of which are good for me, from my perspective. So
that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know,
Israel Keys is caught. They know that he committed a murder for sure, and he mentions the couple in Vermont, and he's hinted at a couple other things that he's done. So these officers want to know what that stuff is, and so Israel Keys is 100% in control. He does not want to give out any of his information. He's asked, I believe he's already asked for the death penalty, and he wants it sooner rather than later. That is something that the police officers cannot give him, because there's laws that prevent, you know, the death penalty from moving too quickly. You know, Israel has nothing to gain by doing this. Look, right now he's got like a coffee. I think that's a McDonald's bag. You know, he's getting all this stuff, but he's just like teasing them with possible things that he's got to offer them. But it's either maybe he doesn't have anything at all and he's lying this whole time, which is an actual possibility. I'm pretty sure he murdered the people in Vermont because he knew too much about where the car was, where they were found, and how all this stuff. But it's very possible that, you know, he didn't do anything else. But he's using his whatever leverage he can to get any little thing that he can.
Working with your goals seems to be in your best interest to move forward with New York so that Vermont doesn't charge, because Vermont charges.
That,
and, you know,
well, statistically, that makes things less likely to go my way, because the more attorneys, the more crimes that are involved in this, the more likely it is that one of the states is going to get fed up and say, we're charging them.
you know, we've already demonstrated to you what we can do and explain how it works from our end. Because I don't think Vermont could take as long as they want to take, they charge. You know, they can take their case as long as they want to take it. And, you know, what happens then? To your goals. To your goals. What happens to your goals? If
I assume that puts me in limbo until they get their crack at me. At least I've heard of that happening before. I don't know.
So, do you want that?
Of course I don't want that. You already know what I want.
Well, that's why I guess we're just miscommunicating, because I thought that's what I understood, and that's why we offered you this plan to control how things progress with Vermont. way to control things. Now, if we all say that's not going to work, do what you want Vermont, then we don't control businesses as long as they take Vermont, you know. And I'm sure they'll be talking to New York then. And what's that? Then we don't control it, right?
Right. No, I accepted the fact that we don't control. Well, none of us control what happens in Vermont.
Well, I think I thought that,
Or you do.
I thought this letter that they sent was pretty amazing.
No, it was good. It was
pretty
good.
amazing thing, and we we really worked at this, and they're with us. But if they go away, then they do whatever they got to do, as long as that takes. They don't really care what Israel's opinion is. And then New York comes to them, their neighbors, and said, neighbor, we got a problem in New York. We're Vermont. Vermont says, well, your problem is our problem. We're simpatico together. We all got problems, and this is now Israel has no control. And that's what I was trying to avoid based upon what you told me from the get-go. You've been honest about your goals, but now I'm like, well,
Right. Well,
why are we misunderstanding?
The fine print in that letter is that at their directive, they can reassume control. At your directive, all you have to do is say, well, Israel's not giving us any more information. Do what you got to do.
Did you expect something different? I mean, really? No, there's nothing else we can do.
I don't know what I expected.
I mean, there's nothing else we can do. We can't make. They would never sign.
They would
something.
never agree to it.
They're never going to agree to something that says.
I understand that.
Yeah, so
I know I don't have any rights in this situation. All I have is information. So now you're upset with me that I want to.
no, I'm not. I'm not upset. Upset with you. I said. I started by saying, it's more depressing, and yeah, there's frustration. But I mean,
there's going to be a lot of frustration before this is all over. But I mean, it's already been years of frustration for a lot of people. So they're going to have to learn to live with it for a little
No, that's
longer.
That's a different issue. The frustration and the depression is based upon what you getting what you want, and I'm thinking, we're giving Israel what he wants on his time frame. And I just explained to you what I foresee would happen if the cooperation breaks down with the couriers. And we just said, we don't want that, because we don't want that Vermont to take over and take us on if they want and come to New York and do whatever they do. We don't want that. So what are all there's two choices, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't know how, like I say, that's one of the issues I'm waiting to hear back on, is what is the most likely path that Vermont would take, because obviously I've got other problems right now, so I don't know what their hypothetical timeline could be if they get fed up and decide to go their own way on that. I don't know that. I'm not a lawyer, so yeah, like I said, I'm sure there could be a whole range of things that could happen with that. The information that I've already given.
Well, normally, state prosecutions or other federal prosecutions don't move that quickly. So, right.
So I just wanted to share this map, and there we go. It's not showing. There we go. And my camera turned off again. But this is the states with the death penalty as of this year. So it says Alaska is not one of those states. There's quite a few that don't allow it, which is kind of interesting, especially with some of the crimes that people commit. I don't know. I guess I would never be the executioner, but I'm not against the death penalty if the crime, warrants the death penalty. But I'm going to go ahead and get back to this.
A lot of charges, it's going to be a lengthy process. And they're going to get in touch with New York. New York's going to, have their info about what Vermont does as well. And they're neighboring states, and they work together, and they're going to say.
Maribel, the thing is, he traveled all over the country. They know he was in Washington. They know he was in Texas. They know that he was in a lot of places, but what they don't know is what crimes he committed and where. He didn't just kill people. He also did arson and bank robberies. So if he murdered somebody to take the police off the trail, he might go rob a bank or start a fire somewhere else, to distract the police. Um, it's really kind of insane. It almost sounds like, a movie. But this guy planned his murders so well that most of them they haven't figured out who the other 8 victims are. I think if that picture that he drew is accurate and, an accurate count of victims that he has. But they just don't know. He died before he can tell them.
Hey, Israel had his chance. Alaska had its chance. They said that they were moving forward. I'm just trying to lay out to you what I foresee related to the couriers. That's alternative B as far as I'm concerned. Alternative A was following on the path we've been following. So, doing nothing is a choice. Doing nothing is basically saying I choose alternative B, which is the longer road and less control.
I think A and B goes hand in hand for law enforcement. I've told you many times what option B for law enforcement is, and I know you say we'll be back, and you may be right, but at some point in time when people see that there's an impasse, then they're going to say, well, let's try it. He may be right, maybe we're not going to find anything, but we have to look. We wouldn't be doing due diligence if we didn't try.
Right.
With the investigative leads that we do have. So
A or B.
And I know the B is just this huge public, media and public-wise. And, I just don't want to damage any relationship that we have if we have to go with Plan B.
Well, if that's your only option,
It's not. It's not our only option right now. Right? We have Plan A. We thought.
Yeah.
You realize that. You realize that this isn't going the way. This isn't going like a normal investigation. There's certain things we would do in this type of situation that we're not doing.
Right.
And all those are very public and very unpleasant. And
Well, yeah, you're right. If that's what it's come down to, it's like either I give you information today or you go your own way with it. That's what it's come down to. You do what you got to do, because I'm not giving up any more information until I find out what's going on. There's a couple more issues.
when you foresee that kind of thing happening.
Well, if it doesn't happen this week, then there's going to be another meeting.
So are you telling us that we can next week sometime we can hold off and next week sometime address this issue?
Yeah, we'll hear one way or the other next week.
Because that's something that I can go with and say he's got some issues that he's working through. And
Well, they're the same issues that we talked about last time. It's just nothing that's happening. I'm hesitant to tackle all the issues on my own. I thought I was going to have some.
So YouTube rejected one of my comments, but I was just trying to explain that he ended his life by slashing his wrist with a makeshift weapon. I think it was a disposable razor. And then I don't think he died right away because he also used his own blood to draw those pictures of the skulls, and he also he used a sheet to strangle himself. But this was in December, so he got caught in, what was it, May? So he wasn't in prison for very long, and I don't know that he was actually in like a maximum security prison yet either. But if he confessed to all these other crimes, he could have been extradited to anywhere and then really get put into a terrible, scary prison, which is probably what should have happened considering what he did to himself. And now we don't know who else he killed.
Assistance, but
And if you want assistance, I mean, the judge, everybody's told you, you get whatever assistance you want, and that's your business.
Right.
And we're not gonna, I want to be really clear, that is up to you, and that's your choice. If you do that, it's, you all.
Hey, Lauren, not all Mormons are polygamists, but he did have like 11 or maybe 16 brothers. I'd have to look it up. I can't remember the actual number, but they were, those off the grid kind of people. I don't know that they were Mormons, though. I guess I could look to make sure.
Want to make sure you have every opportunity to do that. So if you want that, do it. That's
Right.
our business.
no, I don't know.
That's clear. We've just been coming to you, being honest about where we are in the process. No one has laid down an ultimatum yet. We're trying to avoid that.
No, that's good. That's what I want to avoid too.
I just thought if I came in here and
You can see we're not, I mean, we're telling you that you're smart enough. You know that it is what it is. What I'm telling you, what he's telling you is reality of this.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not.
Yeah. Oh, I was.
well, what do you want to talk about?
Just been thinking that hypothetically, dust drought didn't really give you all the information you need. Might be kind of like a last minute kind of thing. So I'm not around for the aftermath.
Well, do you think that's realistic?
Do I think it's realistic? I don't know.
Wow, my mic was muted. But yeah, so sorry. I just paused the video there for a second to show you guys this. These were found in his cell after he killed himself, and he was found dead. And the thing with this is, if you know how this guy behaved when he committed the crimes that he did speak about, yeah, it wasn't a stream glitch, Olga. It was me. I muted myself because I needed to cough, of all things. And then I started talking and I forgot to unmute myself. So sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so he is always in control. Everything that he did when he murdered people, it was all controlled. He had planned it in advance. He knew what would happen if, if some part of his like plan changed, he already had a backup plan. And he was very meticulous that way, more so than any other killer. I think because he didn't want to be, he didn't want to be on the news. A lot of his story is kind of, you know, hidden. It's hard to find. I've talked about Israel Keys before, but I never knew much about him other than, he had kill kits and that was, his thing. Um, but it's more than just kill kits. Um, he just planned things in such a way that he would not get caught. He didn't want the fame because he wanted to keep killing. He was killing for some sort of pleasure, um, and nothing else. There was no driving forces other than that feeling of control that he got from doing that. And I mean, he's like these other killers, like they're like, oh well, I couldn't help it. I was it was a compulsion. I saw, this type of person, and I just had to do it. Not this guy. He didn't do that. He didn't care who he killed as long as he killed someone, and he would plan it so far in advance. He would buy a gun from a pawn shop and bury it and then use it 5 years later just to avoid suspicion. Like, people don't do that. If you're going to murder somebody and you go buy a gun, of course that's going to be a red flag. Law enforcement are going to start looking at pawn shops, looking to see if somebody bought a gun somewhere, if something was sold on Facebook, who knows where they would look. But if, no new gun had been purchased, in the days leading up to this person's death, they're not going to, it's just like a dead end for the police. So, the way he plans just changes the whole narrative of a serial killer. And I think the more that people try to learn about this guy and the way he killed, I bet you we're going to start finding more and more killers doing the same exact thing. And they just haven't been caught yet. And it just makes it even scarier when you're on a road trip and you stop at a rest stop. This guy Israel Key would look at rest stops. He would go to campgrounds, that had like just a few campsites. That's where he was hunting, and he was hunting. It's just terrifying. It really is absolutely terrifying.
It seems to me like that would kind of be my call.
Well, but again, like I said, if Vermont goes forward, it's not going to be your call or our call. If Vermont does, they don't have any reason to move your pace.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? And right now, we've been working together,
Well, I know.
I kind of doubt Vermont is going to
Well,
play that game. I doubt they're going to. I'm telling you from even the U.S. Attorney's perspective down there, I doubt they're going to play that game that says, we're going to move forward in Vermont really quickly on the couriers, make sure that gets all wrapped up, and we're going to give him what he wants, and then because we think at the last minute he's going to cause everything.
Or I guess that my opinion on that would be with it. The issue with doing it, something like that, would be, would you be able to provide us with enough information that we need, and would that leave some type of doubt the way it's being done like that, rather than up front cooperating every step of the way and giving us the details that we need to make the closure, rather than right there at the end when all we're getting is maybe a name and a place, and we might not be able to complete the closure all the way, and there might be some, I don't know, it's just food for thought. Would there be?
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. My concern isn't so much with that. My concern is about keeping things under wraps for the duration of my incarceration, however long that may be. And if I have to do that by giving out little information at a time and, continuing to work with you or whoever else. If it seems like that's going to keep working, then that's what I'll do, even if it means, more drama that way, I guess, but yeah, it's still better than the alternative,
I think that's fine. One week, I think we just take a break. You need a bathroom?
yeah, if I could.
All right, so we're
All right, Israel, we're just picking up where we left off, because you said something that I want to respond to. I think the last thing you said. And then I also want to respond to something you said earlier about, hey, at the last minute, this idea that seems that you were interested in, that at the last minute you could just tell us everything, right? And just at the end of all of this with the couriers, you could just tell us everything. So let's use the courier case in Vermont. As we just explained, we have option A and B for looking at it that way. A is we get information. We keep Vermont on board, we get some more information, not everything, but we get some more information to keep Vermont on board, and we keep moving forward on a free-time basis.
Right.
With the couriers. Option B, we all kind of felt was, we lose control of Vermont because we don't get anything about New York. If Vermont moves forward, and, the U.S. Attorney's Office down there in Vermont says, look, he's not cooperating, we're going to charge him federally. The state says, he's not cooperating, we're going to charge him state-wise. That's kind of what could happen on Plan B, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you with me so far?
I take your word for it, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you think that I'm telling you something that's what I believe are two possible options here with the couriers. The moving forward option, or the stalling out option, in which Vermont moves forward federally and state. Now, the state of Vermont does not even have a death penalty, but they have an interest, as you can tell from your office. But for your cooperation and our working with them, the state of Vermont would want to charge you, right?
Right.
So the state of Vermont charges you. It's going to be a lengthy process to go forward with. So that's why I mean option B is a lengthy process, and they're not. No one's going to agree, either the U.S. Attorney's Office in Vermont or the Vermont state prosecutors are not going to agree to any kind of a situation where they say, hey, great, we're going to move things along quickly and get Israel a sentence. Whether he wants a death penalty, whether he wants life in prison, whatever, we're going to go ahead and move forward with that, and with the hope that at the last minute he's going to give us all this information, right? But they're just not going to have anything, that kind of agreement. I just wanted you to know my thoughts on that. I don't speak for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Vermont. I don't speak for the state prosecutors on that issue, but I think the reality is they're not going to just move things forward quickly there with the promise. Well, yeah, you got a promise from you that they'll learn everything eventually. They're going to want that first, right?
Right.
It's like basic negotiating things. So does that make sense?
Yeah. The part you left out is that with option A is that if I continue to give them information, they can still do whatever they want as far as charging.
Look,
They don't have to give me their word on anything. I know
they don't, but they have, and they've given me their word. And so I think what you said was very insightful. Like, well, if you don't want to move things quickly, but you don't want them to be really slow, the quickly is, in my opinion, you tell us everything. The slow is, he tells nothing. What you said at the very end when we took a break was, hey, if I have to give you a little bit, you step along the way to keep things moving. That's in the middle. Things will move, they won't move as quickly, they won't move as slowly, but they'll move. So I'm asking you then today to give us the name of the person in New York has a little something. It's half a card, you can rip in half, you give us the name, we move things forward.
No, it's not half a card, it's pretty, no.
Well, you give us the name today, I think we'll be back here next week, and you won't have heard a peep of that. Nobody will have heard about it.
Well,
And it keeps things moving. We'll be sitting here next week, you won't even heard a thing. We'll sit in the week after, you won't have heard a thing about it. Okay, because we're going to live up to our end of things, because that's what was our commitment to keep that, to follow your goals. Here's what can happen today. You give me the name, I write it down. I don't ask you any more questions. We all have some lunch, talk about whatever you want to talk about. You have a cigar, we can talk about the weather, what's going on in Anchorage, whatever. I'll just write down the name, we have lunch, you have a cigar.
well, I mean, it sounds tempting, but no, I'm not giving any names until I find out what my options are.
That's fine. You do what you need to do. We'll see if it changes next week. I think we'll be in a similar position next week than we are today. And so by not acting, we're going towards plan B. That's all. It's not a threat or anything like that. It's just saying, I gave plan A, path A, and path B.
Right.
By doing nothing, we're kind of making
Right.
a choice.
No, I know, it's a
And
reality.
I think you can take control of the situation today and let me write down that name. That's the control you have. Write down the name, and you see that next week nothing different is happening. It isn't out there. It hasn't impacted you. It's just allowed us to stay on path A. It was a decision that you can make today.
Well, I think I appreciate what you're saying, but here's what I think we should do is set up a meeting probably later next week, a meeting just like this. If I don't get the information that I need by, I don't know, like I said, the next couple days, then what's going to happen is you're probably going to get an email of a different sort of meeting that we're going to have.
Okay, that's up to you. So you're telling me, we're going to meet, we'll come and meet with you next week.
Yeah, I mean, I
Something's
assume you're going to want to do that regardless, but I'm saying that, it's been, what was the last time I was over here? It was like a week ago and I had already been trying to get to them. Yeah, so like I say, if I don't get the information I need this week, like the avenues that I'm trying to get it, then obviously that's not working. I'll do something else.
That's up to you. That's your choice.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's a little bit, from my perspective, there's several different things going on. Trying to keep them all related in my head, and then trying to keep everything moving on all of them separate from each other, but still in the same direction is not an easy task, apparently. So. But, that'll at least give me some more time to get the information that I need.
Hey, good night, Lauren. Hey, thanks for joining us.
In the meantime, I had requested this from other avenues, but you had mentioned that there was news from Vermont. Was there a press release done or something? I know that they were coming up on the anniversary for their disappearance.
And that's what we wanted to tell you, and why we wanted to say tomorrow is the anniversary.
How is it?
And so right now we have nothing to take to them. So what I wanted to accomplish today is to be able to tell them we got a name. I'm not going to tell them the name. I wanted to say, Vermont, we got a name. Stick with this. We know it's the anniversary. You got a lot of pressure tomorrow.
Right.
Stick with us.
Well, that was a concern I had because I know that that's like the media makes a big deal out of anniversaries.
Oh, and they're all over them, I know that, and that's what Vermont is wanting to know. I don't need to give Vermont the name, I just need to tell them, trust me, he gave me the name. They're not gonna know the name, I'm not gonna give it to them, they don't have any need to know. But that gives them a reason to stand firm.
Well, they already have a reason. I'm not going to give them that, just so they have another reason.
Well, you're not giving it to them, you're giving it to me.
Well, at your behest or whatever.
Well, that's what we wanted you to know about, so, look.
Oh, trust me, I'll know about it. I don't care, it doesn't matter how many miles away, I imagine if my name pops up, I'm pretty sure it'll, because at the media, if you did it, I imagine I'll hear about it here.
What's Vermont's reason to stand firm?
I don't know.
You said they already have a reason, so I'm curious to see what that reason is.
Well, I don't know. Uncommon sense, I guess. I'm sure that at this point they want to give themselves a pat on the back, but frankly they don't deserve one, so, that's their reason. If they were being honest with themselves, they would know they couldn't give themselves a pat on the back for that.
They're gonna say, hey, if Israel was being honest with himself, he would just tell you guys and move this thing along. That's, their reaction to it,
Well, I'm probably more honest with myself than anybody else.
You're just looking to hide, are you looking to hide the information? Is that what I'm getting there?
Yeah.
That you're looking to hide it?
Well,
I mean,
I'll get it to you, especially if there's something in it for me, but it'd be better if my name wasn't attached to it. From here until eternity or whatever.
Well, we've told you before, we don't have a problem with that. We've demonstrated repeatedly that we have the ability to greatly influence that.
Right. No, for now, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, yeah, I think we can keep. I think I could probably tell you everything today, and since being the case that it is, I'm sure we could probably keep stuff under wraps for a year, 2 years, whatever. I'm not worried about that.
So then
There you go.
What's the deal?
I'm worried about after that. Eventually, my name is going to be attached to it. So, if there's a way that I can protect myself from that and still get you guys what you need, then I'm going to do it. I don't need to be punished for these other things that I haven't talked to you about yet, because all these other states, they can't prosecute a dead man, so it's like, what?
Right, but do you think anyone's going to really, do you think Vermont charges you for the courage? Do you think they're really going to give you the death penalty knowing that there's more things out there? Do you think they're going to say,
Right,
let's move
so
forward?
see, I know,
You're in a catch-22, my friend.
I already fucked up. So.
You're in a catch-22, and we're offering you, what is, I think, your best bet. That's your call, buddy, but, you're in a catch-22 because Vermont U.S. Attorney's Office, Vermont State isn't going to rush forward and give you what you want, knowing that there's more information out there.
Right, they can't give me what I want anyway.
Well, they could charge you federally in Vermont with the carjacking resulting in the courage. They haven't done that because they've trusted us that we're coordinating. They're not going to rush out there and give you some sentence, whatever it may be, while there's still information out there about unsolved crime. We're offering what I think, so that's your catch-22. I wanted to make sure you understood that, right?
No, I know that.
And we're trying to work on the timing, to control the media, you control how the story comes out. This is your opportunity. You control the story, you control the timing, you control the media. And by timing, I mean moving it quickly. The other alternative B is takes forever, possibly. You don't control any of the rest of the stuff. You may be right, they never get it, but then they're not going to just move forward knowing with the unknown. The middle ground, I think, is what you suggested at the end. You give me a name, I write it down. You have lunch and a cigar, and we all meet again whenever you want to meet again. And you're not going to hear anything about it between now and then.
No, I'm not.
Is Washington a better state?
No. No, whatever, we tackle one thing at a time, but I don't want to go into that bigger trip anymore until I find out what's going on with this other stuff. And yeah, I'm also a little concerned about what they say tomorrow. It would be interesting to see if anything comes out, if they're able to resist the temptation.
Do you want to have any control over it?
I don't have any control. I could tell you everything today, and they could still say whatever they want.
Yeah, in theory, that's possible. Do you think they would? Do you think that if
I have no idea.
Do you think if I go to them, call them after we get done meeting and say, you know, piece of information, you got a name, I'm not telling you what it is, but he's looking up to his end of it. Do you think they're really good?
My suspicion is that no, they wouldn't say anything about it if you told them not to. I'm just saying from a realistic point of view, there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. I agree with you. Look, there's no guarantees. We don't know what the media is sniffing around and what they know. We can't guarantee that. We've never been talking about guarantees here. We're just working with the best we can do.
Yeah.
And once we go creep towards Plan B, Plan A will be more difficult to get back on.
Well, maybe. That's not really my call. That's more your call.
We respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
We think it's your call. I can't do anything with me. It doesn't invite the goodwill of the other people who can say, please continue to talk. We're getting a little bit, we're moving in the right direction, we're going to stay on Plan A. Other than that, they're not going to find the body from what you told us.
No, I'm not worried about it.
If you're not worried about it, it sounds like you have nothing to lose.
More by giving, it's true, the body is, the name doesn't give you the body, but
Yeah, other than
there's a lot of other things.
I'm asking you for the most minimal thing that I think keeps us going in the right direction. We can meet again next week.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Like I said, I already told you guys today. Nothing has changed since last meeting on my end. I don't have any new information. Nothing has happened that I wanted to happen. So
Okay, we're just asking you from our perspective, if there's something we can do on the other crimes, we've done it. And from our perspective, I'm talking to you about other crimes, we're standing still and sliding backwards, and it's kind of, as I said, let's just call it depressing and frustrating. But that's what about other crimes. You make your decisions. we told you what we thought could help today. That's what it is.
Yeah. Help somebody.
No, I think it would help you. You know what we're saying with it. It's the catch.
Not in the long run.
You're in the catch-22 about that.
Yeah, I know. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try and manage it.
Yeah, we're giving you the managed approach.
Yeah, there's just many unanswered questions right now. So.
All right. Well, in the interest of not wasting everybody's time and stuff, you said you wanted to move like next week. You want to pick a day right now, Thursday, Friday? Both days are late next week. You have a preference?
No. Today, Thursday.
So that's basically the end of this video, and he doesn't confess to killing the couriers in Vermont yet, but he's hinted at it a lot. So these detectives, the FBI investigators, they know that he did it, but he doesn't fully confess yet. I think he does in July. He finally fully confesses, but that's only after he realizes that he can't get everything he wants with the limited information that he's giving. He did fully confess, I believe, to Samantha Koenig in this one. Well, before and throughout this one, he hasn't denied that one, I don't think, since the beginning. I mean, he was found in her car with her ATM card. But anyways, guys, I enjoyed hanging out with you guys. I know this one was a little bit boring, but there is a reason. There is a good reason to watch these. I mean, if you want to see what a killer looks like and why and how they're different than us, this is the guy to look at. He is constantly just smirking, laughing, and joking. All the while, he's murdered people, and he's using what he knows as a tool to get something that he wants, which is very unique, I think. The way the amount of stuff he has to offer, he gets, some things that he wants. He just can't get the one real thing that he wants. And that is the death penalty. I believe it was kept out of the news a little more than it would have normally been kept out of the news also. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys had a good weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, Maribel. Thanks, Olga. You guys have a good night.